Welcome to the Life Engineering Podcast. My name is Gabriela, former chemical engineer, relationship coach, and author. In each episode, we'll uncover the wisdom, strategies, and tools to help you build thriving relationships and purpose-driven careers. My wish is that something shared in this space touches your heart, brings clarity, or gently guides you toward what you need most in your life right now. Thank you for being here. Let's begin now. Have you ever felt like your career is thriving, but your life outside work is quietly slipping through your fingers? If you have, you're not alone. Today's guest has spent over 2 decades helping leaders and business owners reclaim their time, rediscover their purpose, and finally achieve the kind of success that doesn't come at the expense of their personal lives. Oh, I love that. I just want to have a side note and say I feel like today I'm talking with my professional soulmate. We care so much about the same. And yes, and want to focus on helping people in very similar areas. So, welcome everyone back to the Life Engineering Podcast. I'm your host, Gabriela, and today I'm joined by Dr. James Bryant. He's the founder and CEO of Engineer Your Success, a boutique leadership training and coaching firm that is dedicated to helping executives and business owners recover lost time, increase productivity, and create true work-life balance. Music to my ears. With over 20 years of leadership experience in both the private and the public sector, James has developed proven strategies to help leaders free up their time and energy so they can focus on what matters most, not just in business, but in life. Today, we're diving into the myth of work life balance. Yes, how to avoid burnout and what it really takes to engineer success without losing yourself in the process. Wow. James, welcome to the show. I'm excited for today's conversation.
No, thank you so much for having me on the show. I'm really excited for us to have this conversation.
Yes. So here's the thing when you interview me, you ask, how does an engineer become a coach? Now it's my turn to flip the question and ask you, how did your journey take you from, I believe, civil engineer
Yes.
into civil engineer to leadership coaching? Can you take us back to that moment?
Yes. So, just a little bit about my journey. I have 20 plus years as a civil engineer. I was spending time when I made the transition working for the Transportation Research Board, which is part of the National Academies of Science, Engineering, and Medicine. And what I found is there was a strong pull for me to continue to help people to expand my reach versus the more technical oriented work that I was doing. I felt that I was making a difference in our nation's infrastructure, helping develop projects and systems to design projects faster, to improve construction, to develop better materials. But I wanted to also expand that kind of impact into a person's life because at the end of the day, engineers are people too. And the same issues that everybody else faces, engineers face. And what I found with my colleagues is they did not necessarily have the same resources or weren't targeted in the same way with tools to help them navigate the challenges that came along with life.
That's beautiful. And I resonate so much to what you're sharing, the lack of resources and knowledge, how to engineer a private life, a relationship, a wholesome life. So, how did your engineering and leadership background shape your perspective on success and balance?
I think the biggest shift for me came early on in my career. So I'll just tell a brief story. I graduated with my PhD in civil infrastructure systems, which is looking at civil engineering projects from a systems engineering point of view. So you're not just looking at one thing, you're looking at
Mm.
the culmination of a lot. Similar to what we do when we help clients from a coaching perspective. But so I had this grand plan. I was going to work in the private sector for 3 to 5 years, work in the public sector for 3 to 5 years. Then I was going to look at these issues from a national level and then maybe go to a university and teach, start a consulting firm. We have these big dreams when we first start out. Well, I was moving along, checking off all of the boxes. And I got to the point where I had this opportunity to go work at the national level and I wanted to take it. But the same day that I found out that they were offering me the job, my wife came home and told me we were expecting our first child. And so, and my wife says, "So when are you going to turn down the job?" And I'm like, mentally, it's the next thing on my ladder. It's the next thing that I want to accomplish. And so, right or wrong, I took the opportunity, but what that created was a big strain in our marriage relationship in our family because I was leaving early in the morning to commute an hour and a half going up to Washington D.C. I was coming back late at night, traveling a lot. From a work perspective, I was winning, but I couldn't say
Mm.
the same thing about home. And so our first child was born, then our second child was born about 14 months. They were 14 months apart. And when my second child was born, I had to take a hard look at my situation in my life. And this is where I asked myself the three questions that I say changed my life. And that's, do you want to win at work? And the answer to that question was yes, I did. And I was. Do you want to win at home? I don't know anybody who doesn't want to win in their home life. But the last question was the one that rocked me to the core, which is the simplest one, which is, are you? And I could not answer the question, are you? Am I winning at work and at home in a positive way? And that set me on a journey of self discovery, in a journey of looking at ways in which I can engineer my own success. And it was through that whole process and then working with other mentors and talking to people. And they were like, hey, you've built something great. You've been able to put these tools in place. It would be great if you could help others do the same.
Wait a second. I want to go back to those powerful questions you ask yourself. How did you know what to ask yourself?
I didn't. I think it was in a moment of immense stress. So my first child was born 5 weeks early, but my second child came at 26 weeks and a day. So he was 1 pound, 14 ounces. My wedding ring could fit around his thigh. And so there were all kinds of issues that were there. My wife felt as if her body was failing her because of the premature births. I feel like I'm failing as a husband because I'm not there for her emotionally because I'm traveling all the time and I'm working. I feel like I'm not a great dad because I'm not there for the 14-month-old. So there's all of these issues that are coming into play. And so I'm just sitting contemplating and thinking about the journey that I was on and what I set out to do. And those are the questions that came to mind.
These are powerful questions. I'll repeat them so everybody can have a chance to write them down. Are you winning at work? That was the first one. Are you winning at home? That was the second one. And the last one, sorry, that was my mistake. Do you want to win at work?
Yes.
Do you want to win at work? Do you want to win at home? And the last one, are you?
Yes. Correct.
This is very powerful. And it takes courage. It's a moment of truth.
Yes. Particularly the last question is the that moment of truth. The first two just ask you, what do you want in life? Do you want to win? If that is how you describe success, right? So if some people have a pushback on, well, what is winning? That seems okay. All right. Do you want to have success in life? Do you want to have success at work? Do you want to have success at home? Or do you want to be successful at work? Do you want to be successful at home? The same concept applies.
So can you win at both?
Yes, you can.
I
You can
know.
win at both. And kind of the process that I went through and that I take clients through is what I call the engineer's blueprint for success. So the first step is to focus on what matters most. So in that moment, in that time in life, what really matters to you? Are you continuing to pursue goals that were from a previous dream that you had or a previous thing that you wanted to achieve? So if I go back to my story, originally it was 3 to 5 years in the public sector, 3 to 5 years in the private sector.
You had a plan, like
Yeah,
most
yeah.
engineers.
Yep. Look at things at the national level. So if I am living life according to that plan, I was successful. But I got married. I had kids. I have relationships now that are important to me. And so is that career trajectory the most important thing to me now? And the answer to that question is no, it's not. I had to continue to evolve. So as I evolved, my definition of success evolved. So I can remember having a conversation about a potential um, promotion when I was working at that job. And they were like, okay, we would like to give you the promotion to manage the entire team, but there's one catch. You have to come up to Washington, D.C. every day, like you did before. And my response was no, I'm not willing to do that. And, you have the subtle pressure of, well, what happened to you? You used to be ambitious. What happened to that level of ambition? And my response was, I'm still ambitious, but now I'm ambitious for creating a situation where I can provide value at work and have fulfillment at home. I refuse to simply let the work part of the equation drive everything.
So I want to ask you a deeper question and prepare. I remember when I had my first daughter, I was working at Intel at the time and I was traveling. I had won an Intel International Award for a project. I went to the US to present it in front of managers. I was traveling, a lot of business traveling. And when my daughter was born, I started having what I find a lot of leaders have today is the guilt at work that I'm not with her, and then the guilt at home that I'm not working. Now you'd say, well, women are wired to be mothers, so that's probably why. And yes, I can recognize that we have genetic beliefs that the woman should be home with the children. But my question is, and you were having the same feelings, do you think that those feelings are there because we are not necessarily in our purpose? Like my purpose was clearly not to serve as an engineer, but to serve in the work that I do today. I had to go through that journey. I get that. And maybe your purpose was not to work on a national level, but to help and support leaders.
I think I probably would have felt the same tug because at that time in my career, I loved what I was doing. So it wasn't a struggle for me to want to go to work and the travel. I absolutely loved it. And it was probably more so just thinking about what is my responsibility, not only as an engineer, as a leader, but as a father and a husband. Because again, if you think of work and life being um, different sides of the same coin, I'm the coin, right? You're the coin. So if you are having an issue in one area, it will start to impact the other area.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And to ask yourself, what did I commit to when I got married?
Yeah.
What am I committed to as a person? Or as we said, creating, what does a life of no regrets look like?
Yes.
Yeah.
What did I commit to when I was married? What did we commit to when we, decided that we wanted to have children? What is that responsibility? And all of those things come into play. So to circle back to your question, I don't know if it was a thing of being out of purpose in terms of my profession, but I do think if we expand that definition to say that part of my purpose is to be a leader for my family, to be there for my family as well as in the workplace, then yes, there was a disconnect. And the disconnect is that I wasn't there for my family.
Mm, thank you for clarifying that. You've said that trying to balance organizational needs with your own, I heard you say that is a losing strategy. Why is that?
I think that when you are a leader and you're trying to balance those needs, that is a losing strategy and it is a myth, right? Because life and work shifts very dynamically. Things happen and they change. And if you approach it from this concept of balance, then that's like static. You're trying to come up with a static equilibrium type solution to a very dynamic problem. So, one of the things that, or the concepts that I use is dynamic balance. So, what is dynamic balance? Dynamic balance is what you achieve when you're riding a bike. Many of us has ridden a bike. You're there, you're pedaling, and your body is shifting. Different muscles are moving to keep you on a path to move forward as you're building momentum. And there are times when you're going to have to shift towards one area or the other. You're going to lean more to the family, lean more to the business. You're going to keep going along your journey. And so I liken it to riding a bike.
That's a great analogy. I often talk about rather than work life balance, work life integration.
Mhm.
And seeing, even it starts with the mindset, in my opinion, the mindset that these two, like you said, the two sides of the coin are not competing forces.
Correct.
They are two parts of one mission that
Yep.
you and your spouse have for your life together, the life you are building.
And I think
Uh,
that's important. It's the life that we're building. It's what me and my spouse have. So when people come to me, they're like, James, I'm thinking about this move or this switch. What should I do? Have you talked to your wife about this? Have you
yeah.
talked to your husband about this? Well, no, I haven't because I don't. No, 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 no. You have to pull them along and not even pull them along. You want to bring them along the journey. So even before I left to start Engineer Your Success, about a year prior to that, my wife and I started having conversations about what I was thinking about and what I wanted to do. Hey, I'm thinking about doing this. This is where my heart is. I'm not leaving right away, but this is what I would like to do. And it wasn't until one day we were talking about it. She looks at me, Gabriela, and she says, why just go ahead, go ahead and leave, like go ahead, leave, pursue your dream, do what you want to do, we're going to be okay, go. And that's when I went.
And just because you talked to her, and I have to tell you, when I mentioned to my husband that I wanted to become a coach, and this is always important for me to mention, because sometimes women say, well, my spouse doesn't believe in my dream. My husband did not believe in coaching at the time. Of course, we're going back 15 years that coaching wasn't as popular as it is today, or needed perhaps. But he actually thought it was more like a hobby. He did not believe that you can make a full time career out of it, but he supported me. And that's an important distinction. Your spouse doesn't need to have your dream. It's your dream, not their dream.
Yeah.
You do your best to communicate it, but they're not in your mind. They cannot visualize what you see, but you want their support.
Yes.
So that's important also to clarify. I was I was I was talking yesterday with a client and a woman, and it's a couple that I work with, but I have a session with her, and she was sharing how they're going through big renovations. They purchase a new home, and there's so much stress, and things are not flowing, not going well. And she was explaining, and I said, I feel like there's a lack of leadership. And she said, what do you mean? I said, because you're running, both of you are running, everybody's hustling, but you're not, and you can only see what's missing. You don't appreciate what was accomplished until now, only what needs to be done. So the bathroom was installed. Okay, never mind. What's the next on the list?
Yeah.
Because there's a lack of leadership. You don't stop to have these weekly or even daily communications where you go, okay, where are we in the project? Well, how are we done? What is working? What is not working? Where do we need to course correct? And then she says, oh yeah, that's gonna that's exactly what we're missing. So I want to talk about how the same skills we use at work are the ones that are going to help us win at home. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, I'll even talk about it from the perspective of shifting that. And that is the skills that we're able to develop in life, period, help us both at work and at home. And the example that I like to use is that in the first, everything I needed to learn about effective communication, I learned in the first 3 years of marriage. And that is because my wife and I have two totally different communication styles. I am much more, hey, let's talk about it. Let's get it out there. She's much more contemplative and needs time to prepare and to think before she responds. And so you can imagine some of the conversations that we would have. And I had to learn, okay, how do I need to package what it is that I'm trying to communicate in a way in which she can actually hear it, digest it, and make a decision. It doesn't have to be the decision that I want her to make, but so that she understands that. And so it took me 3 years to finally figure that out. And that simple adjustment plays true in work, in my professional life. Even when you're working with clients, everybody's a little bit different, and learning how to package what it is that you have to say or what you're trying to communicate in the way in which they can receive it is key.
That's powerful. So I find that when we are fragmented and we are not recharging at home, that can easily lead to burnout at work. Let's talk about burnout.
Okay.
I know you support your clients, the leaders you work with. What are the early warning signs of burnout that leaders often miss?
I think the first one is relational. You start to get short with the relationships that you have. Your responses are short. Your not so much your temper, but you find that you are more snappy than what you would normally be, right? You have that. Another sign is that if you take a vacation, I don't care if you open up your email or not, but let's say you take a vacation and you come back from that vacation and you're still drained, that's an early sign of burnout, because you have to do things more systematic in terms of your refresh and recharge. And so if you've taken that vacation and you come back and you're like, "Whew, man, this is not working," you're on your way towards burnout.
How do you help leaders recover from burnout?
One is understanding that life is built on rhythms, and one that they can, if you take the concept of dynamic balance and you pair that with rhythm, then you understand that different times in your life or different times in your work, there are going to be different rhythms that you have to kind of adjust to. So I help them, one, to be able to understand that, you can prevent burnout, you can recover from burnout, but it's going to take some time. But if we're able to catch those signs early, then how can we get you back in rhythm? How can we set up those conversations with your team so that you are delegating and equipping your team to take on some of the things that may be burning you out? How can you have those conversations with your family to let them know, here are the things that we're working on, here are the things that are coming up, and I'm going to need your support while I'm going through this transition or this phase. And I'm giving you permission, family, to hold me accountable, because this is going to be a temporary thing. If it goes beyond this time, I'm going to need you to hold me accountable and say, hey, we need to make some additional changes because this condition is continuing to persist.
Yeah, and we live in a hustle culture, right? That is quite harmful for any
Mhm.
person. So, well, people might say, I have so much to do. What do you think is the biggest productivity myth leaders still believe in?
That you can do it all. I mean, that's that you, the individual, as one, can do it all. Um, Particularly if you think you are the one that has to do it all, right? So you're not delegating, you're not empowering, you're not equipping, you're assuming that if it's going to be done, you're going to have to be the one that does it.
Now, some people, the reason that they have the need to do it all is because it fits their insecurity, right? The sense of self worth. How do you help a leader like that?
First, for a leader like that, if you're listening to this episode and maybe you don't even know that you've tied your self worth into what you're doing, understand that you are a human being, not a human doer. And because you are a human being, there is worth in you being. You are worthy of love. You are worthy of care. You are of worthy to be affirmed just because you exist, not because of what you do. When we tie our identity only to what we do, we miss out on the beauty of being. And I want you to experience that beauty of being.
Mm, that's right. Really, the first step is the self awareness that this is a coping mechanism.
Yes.
Yeah, that we develop probably early in our lives. Yes.
Very, very early on. I mean, and it's no different than eating wrong, eating bad stuff, right? Or whatever kind of coping mechanism that we have. It could be going on social media, playing video games, whatever the coping mechanism is. We tend to cope and we adapt to that coping mechanism. But when it comes to work, I don't know if it's this way for, well, actually, it is. I don't think it's gender specific. We get caught up into building our identity around what we do and the positions that we have, not on who we are.
Absolutely. And for the most part it serves us until it doesn't,
Yes.
right? And
Yes.
then so it's deceiving because in the beginning you go, oh, this is working for me, until you get that life lesson when things are being stripped away from you and you realize that, okay, maybe it wasn't a sustainable process, the one that I was living with. Because one of the things as engineers we look for is sustainability, right?
Mhm.
And you realize it's not sustainable anymore. And beyond that, it strips you from your greatness,
Yes.
right?
Yes, it does.
So how do you help leaders stay resilient and motivated during high pressure seasons?
There's a few ways we do that. I started off talking about the process that I take clients through, the engineer's blueprint for success. So the first step is focus on what matters most.
Hmm.
The second step is going to be visualizing the life that you want. The third step is design a plan to bridge the gap between where you are and where you want to go. And the fourth step has to do with execution. So I mentioned that so to provide context to how I'm going to answer your question. When you talk about how do we help leaders build resilience in times of high pressure and in times where things are really tough, one, we ask them to visualize what that pressure looks like. What are those obstacles or the things that they have to face? Not so that they can simply dwell on it. The second step to the visualization exercises that we use is that we want them to see themselves overcoming those obstacles. Because many times we talk about envisioning the finish line. I want to see myself at the end. We don't always envision
The
ourselves
process.
the process or running up the hill. I want you to visualize yourself running up that hill, conquering that thing that is in your way, because your mind does not know whether this is past, present, whether this is, it just sees itself conquering and overcoming. And if you want to prepare to conquer and overcome, then you have to see yourself doing that.
I love that. And you can also prepare, like if you're running a long distance, you can prepare, okay, there I'm going to stop, I'm going to rest, I'm going to drink, I'm going to
Yep.
recharge, then I'm going to continue. So you can really have these recovery times pre-plan.
Yep.
So they don't feel like you're losing time or
And
you're
that's part of
slowing
the
down.
and that's
Mhm.
part of the planning process and part of the visualizing process, because many of us don't like to stop. We don't like to rest. But again, visualize yourself stopping, visualize yourself resting, and visualize yourself after that moving on with more energy, with more resilience, with more vigor as you attack and conquer the goals that you have.
Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. James, we're getting towards the end, and I want to ask you if you could give one piece of advice to a leader who feels like they're drowning right now, what would it be?
That's an interesting question, because when a leader who feels like they're drowning, they don't need advice. They need a rope. They need a lifeline. They need something that they can grab hold to move forward. And what I would say in terms of that lifeline is that you are worth the effort. You are worth the struggle. Is it going to be easy for you to course correct? No, but because of who you are, you're worthy of that. You are worthy of that effort to live the life that you want, a life that is going to serve you and your family, and to give you exactly what it is that you're looking for.
Beautiful. Very human, which I'm sure for some people thinking they're listening to two engineers might be surprising. Well, not
It-
in that in this podcast, but yeah, if they are part of our listeners. But
yeah, I'll say it might be, but we come up with all of this advice without thinking about the human element or the human aspect of it. If a person is struggling, it's not so much, hey, here are three things that you can do, or you need to follow my framework. No, it is that you are worthy of the effort that it's going to take to pull out of where you are.
yeah, very powerful. So I want to end with a personal question. What's one daily or weekly habit that has had the most impact on your own life?
The daily habit that has the most impact on my life at this point is the understanding that this my business, my resources, my life is all given to me by God, and that I am a steward of that resource. And so, even if I think of my business, it is, how can I glorify God in my business? How can I glorify God in serving the clients that I have, and on a daily basis, really seeking God and saying, God, this is your business. You've empowered me or enabled me to be a steward of the business. Help me to be the best steward that I can be today.
Oh, you're leaving me speechless in a good way. I don't want to comment more on that because that was absolutely graceful.
Thank you.
James, where can people connect with you and learn more about Engineer Your Success?
Well, you can find me on LinkedIn. But if you type anywhere engineer your success, I'm sure that the podcast or I'll come up. But the website is engineeryoursuccessnow.com. And
Thank you.
that's the best way to get in contact with me.
Perfect. And we're going to put that in the show notes as well.
Yep.
James, thank you for sharing your wisdom and giving us beautiful ways to think differently about success, to balance life, leadership, ambition in every aspect of our life. It's been a pleasure talking to you.
Same here. Thank you so much.
And to our listeners, if today's conversation sparks something in you, share this episode with someone navigating, maybe navigating leadership, life. And don't forget to subscribe to the Life Engineering so you don't miss what's coming next. And until then, keep designing a life of no regrets. See you in the next episode.
Cool.